All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is Ken Quinn with U.S. Term Limits. I want to thank all of you who are out there. We are live. I'm with regional directors. Ken, I think you're still muted, so just unmute your audio there. I'm with Ken Clark and Aaron Duquette. Gentlemen, say hello.
Aaron, you're still muted. Hello, everybody. This is Ken Clark. I'm the regional director for the Southern region. And it is great to be back. I hope everybody had a terrific Thanksgiving and everybody ate way too much and had good cheer with friends and family. I know I did. It was a terrific holiday in my world.
Yeah, I think I gained 5 pounds. I had to kind of almost do a fast for a couple of days. Not quite, but boy, I'm just barely getting over it. So it was awesome, though. Felt really good. Haven't eaten like that in a long time.
It was wonderful. I had a terrific. Aaron, how about you?
Oh, I had a couple Thanksgiving dinners. So I was enjoying myself for sure and ready to be back at it for term limits.
Okay, so that's what we're here for tonight. So everyone out in Facebook land, we just want to thank you for joining us for the next half hour, 45 minutes. We are with U.S. term limits, as you know, and what we are working on is putting term limits on Congress. And I recall this week there was another congressman who looks like they're going to prison. Did you see the story? I think it was Duncan Hunter.
Yeah, he is.
Yep. Pled guilty, and we see these stories about corruption, and that's just the tip of the iceberg on why we need term limits. And so we want to thank all of you out in Facebook land for joining us and all of our supporters. We have a lot we want to cover this evening. And before we kick things off, Ken, we're going to do a little giveaway, and let me kind of show the folks what we're offering here. Can you see the shirt here in the camera?
I can see it. Go a little to your right. There you go.
There we go. Term Limits for Congress shirt. It's got something on the back as well. And so we are going to have a little contest. And Ken, why don't you share what we're doing, Aaron? And Aaron Duquette's going to make contact with the winner and take it away, Ken.
Well, we've got a trivia question. As you all are aware, the only way to get term limits on Congress is to amend the Constitution. And that's based on a Supreme Court decision back in 1995, Thornton versus USTL. Basically, Thornton versus U.S. Congress. So Ken Quinn is the master of trivia. He puts together these trivia games, and they're really, really hard, even for somebody like me who is an amateur expert at the Constitution. I am by no means a scholar. Please don't get me wrong. I am an amateur at best, but I know a lot because I've read a lot, and still I get stumped every time. So here is our question for you. And whoever gets it right, the first person that gets it right, will get the T-shirt that Ken Quinn was holding up. And here is the question. Are you ready? Here we go.
I'm ready. Go.
How many articles are in the Constitution? Not amendments. How many different articles? Article 1 through Article what? How many different articles are in the Constitution? That is the trivia question.
And you got to type it in so we can see it on the feed. And
you have to type it in.
I'm watching for you.
Okay.
Type it in because otherwise we won't see it.
Now the amending provision is which article, Ken?
5.
Yes.
It's 5.
Number 5.
It is Article 5 of the Constitution that gives us the procedure that we must follow in order to amend the Constitution. And the thing that's interesting about it is there's really only one way to ratify any proposed amendments, but there are 2 different ways to propose amendments. And so Congress can do it, the states can do it, but there's really only one way to ratify, and that is 38 states have to ratify any proposed amendment. But there are 2 different ways to propose those amendments. I think that's quite interesting.
I think we've got a winner.
We do.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
we don't.
No. I clicked on the wrong one. Here we go. Amanda. Okay, excellent. Well, Amanda, you win a lovely, lovely term limit for Congress T-shirt, and I don't know if you know Aaron, but Aaron will reach out and contact you
We'll
and
be in
get
touch.
your information, and I'll get that out to you. So there are 7 articles to the Constitution, and it's a very short document. It's amazing how short our Constitution is, at least the original Constitution. Even with all the 27 amendments, it's still a fairly short document. Ken, there's one thing, I know it's going to come up, so let's address it. This comes up all the time. You talked about how do we do this? It must be an amendment, okay? And this is why, because we have already tried voting on this at the ballot box back in the 90s, and that's what the Supreme Court overturned. Most of the 23 states that put term limits on their own congressional delegations did it at the ballot box. I think only 2 states passed laws by the legislature. So we cannot vote for this. We cannot do this at the election time at the ballot box. It must be an amendment. So we get that question a lot, and so that's why I wanted to touch base and just share that little bit of tidbit. And I got to be honest, this is a heavy lift. An amendment to the U.S. Constitution is not easy.
But
and
you know what, Ken, though, it should be a heavy lift. It should be difficult because amending the Constitution is very serious business. And you and I have talked about it, Aaron, we've all talked about it. How many different proposals have been made by members of Congress? The number would frighten you. But then you compare that to how many amendment proposals have actually made it out of Congress. And then you go, oh, okay. That makes sense. And so it's
a little bit too hard, to be honest with you. It shouldn't be as hard as it is, unfortunately. I
disagree with that. I think it should be this hard. I don't think the problem that we run into is every time the Supreme Court comes down with a new decision, they're effectively amending the Constitution. And that's where the problem lies. And so in order to reverse bad Supreme Court decisions, we have to do this the hard way.
Well, but I'm going to dissent here. It shouldn't be as difficult for us to correct it as it's too easy for them to mess it up. So I think we need a little bit of hey, we can't change it. It is what it is.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I love how everybody says, well, they'll change the process for amending the Constitution. What they don't realize is you have to go through Article 5 and that entire process in order to change the way amendments are ratified, the way amendments are done.
Yeah.
And so it's a circular, destructive argument that has no basis in fact. But
hey,
anyway.
I'm going to highlight Isaac Houston. Great question. Glad you're joining us tonight. What can I do personally? We're going to get into that tonight. And thanks for joining us. We have a lot of things that all of you out there can do. Oh, check that out. It says Eagle with term limits by the beak. That's really cool.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Nice. Hey, the more pro term limit your profile picture is, the more prone I am to pull it up. So there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Aaron, I'm just going to highlight. Here you go. You can start right here by going to U.S. term limits volunteer.
There you go.
And we need people volunteer. So let's talk about. Let me share my screen here. So give me 1 second to pull up my little slideshow. And we are going to talk a little bit about National Term Limits Day. So let me pull this up. And this is something we started last year, National Term Limits Day. And the date is February 27th. And for those of you that were with us a few weeks ago, that date is very special and dear to U.S. term limits because that is the date in 1951. National Term Limits Day. And the date is... I'm getting feedback there, guys. That's the date. That's the date that the 22nd Amendment was ratified, which placed term limits on the U.S. president. So we chose that day to be kind of our ground zero for getting term limits and education on term limits around the country every year on this date. And what we want to do is have you folks out there around the country in all of the states put together events. And let me just share with you some things that took place last year. These were some folks, some friends of mine this actually was in Freiburg, Maine, and Caleb Ness organized this, and a bunch of people got together. If you notice, they have some shirts and signs. They had some pizza, and they actually did a great job. They had, I think, about 10 people do individual videos that they shot on why they want term limits. I thought that was a really, really great.
I remember that. That was really cool. And we had a terrific turnout in South Carolina. Steve Isaacson was our state director, and he did a bang up job. We had about 35, 40 people show up. It was really powerful. And it's a fun day. It really is. And you do a lunch, you do a dinner, you do a march, go to the Capitol, you go to a street corner and wave signs, whatever. I mean, we're looking for ideas. What do you guys think would be fun? That's kind of what we're talking about tonight.
So what we want to do, we kind of want to open it up to everybody. So if you can share with us ideas give us some ways that we can really spread the message on term limits, whether it's calling on radio stations that day, maybe doing a series of letters to the editor that month, building up to it. We want to have you sharing with us ideas so that we can kind of organize this in the coming weeks and get it out there. And I'm thinking maybe some contests. What do you guys think? Maybe whoever does the best job with most people in a picture, most creative, kind of have a little fun.
Well, last year, Ken, we did do that. We did do a thing where we had the group that had the most turnout. Whoever the organizer was got a gift certificate, and that was a lot of fun. And we can do a bunch of stuff like that. And if you're going to do one of these, let us know. We will send you everything you need. We'll send you the brochures. We'll send you all of our printed material that we've got. We'll do that for free. We've got it. Yep. And we will get it to you. We will get you yard signs. We will get you banners. If you can look behind Aaron's picture, he's got a terrific term limits convention banner. We have those, and we can get them out to you really fast.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't want to make promises we can't keep, but I do want to direct people to our store, because a lot of this stuff they can also purchase on their own. Just sometimes we can't handle the amount. If it all came at once, it's hard to get things out.
Jeff's good. He'll get it done.
But I just want to show people what we have on our store. If you go to our website under the more, I don't know if you can see it here I'm not live on my website. This is just a screenshot. But if you go down to the shop section, you'll see what comes up, and there you can see yard signs and banners. We've got a real nice banner that kind of hangs on a wall or off of a table. We got some table runners you can order, shirts, obviously, bumper stickers, magnetic kind as well, and some cups. So check out our store. It's kind of cool stuff. This is not just for Term Limits Day in February, but also, bring it to work. We want people talking about this. 82% of Americans want this to happen. And we know this is probably the number one issue that can bring the entire country together. And we've got to make that happen. So the more we're talking about it, the faster we can get this done. And folks out there, if you could just type in what states you're from. We want to kind of highlight and recognize the states. I'll kind of pull these up as we go. And that's pretty much all I've got on Term Limits Day. Let's do another question. What do you think for another T-shirt? What do you think, Ken? Aaron, this one's going to be yours, right? So let me, sure. I'm just going to drop this out. Okay, so another T-shirt. Go ahead. You ask the question.
Sure. The question is, of the 50 state legislatures in the union, which state is the only state with a unicameral legislature, one chamber?
Say that word again.
Which state has a unicameral legislature, one chamber, rather
only
than
one
two?
Chamber.
Yep. Which state?
It's the only state in the union.
I know. Can I answer? Do I get a T-shirt?
No. All right. We need the Jeopardy music playing. Dun,
yeah, we do.
Dun, dun, dun. All right.
Don't give up your day job, Ken.
Okay, so Aaron, you monitor that. Give me the thumbs up when you see the right answer, and we'll highlight that, folks. Oh, wait a second. No? Okay. You know what? Now you've made it difficult, because I asked people to show what states they're from, and I'm going to get it confused with them answering the question. Anyway, all right, let's get back to how you can help us. Because that's why we're doing these webinars every week. And we've been doing this now for a number of weeks. And every Thursday night at 8:30, this is where you can join us. And every week we're going to be sharing ideas and how you can help us. And one huge thing you can do, if you haven't done it already, is sign our petition. Go to our website, termlimits.com. If you have not signed our petition, please do so. That is very important to this effort because, isn't Jim Olson? I don't know if Jim
I
qualifies.
think that disqualified there.
Jim, sorry, buddy. You can't play.
Jim is our Georgia State director. So he knows all this stuff.
Man, you're sneaky, buddy. Nice try.
Need a new question.
Okay. So anyway, the petitions are important. Number one, because that's how we communicate to you. Once you sign the petition, you will receive our emails, whether it's our national email or we put out statewide emails, especially for calls to action and events, lobby days at the Capitol, things like that. Now, we don't overwhelm you with emails. So that is why it's so critical, because we have to be able to communicate with you. We also do it on Facebook, but emails really help us. The other thing about signing the petition is we use that information to share with legislators how many people in their district have supported this. And so just recently I was with legislators. I printed out the sheets of the number of people with their name and address. That's all we provide. We don't provide phone numbers or email addresses. And it really helps when we have hundreds of people that have signed the petition in a particular senator's district. That makes a huge impact. So that's why it's important. And please share that petition online. Post it everywhere. Send it out in emails. Post it in groups in your state. Encourage people to sign it. So that's probably the first step most folks can take if they haven't already done it. Can you guys add anything on that?
No, I mean, the question was asked, how many petitions do we have signed on board? And I can't remember the number. It's in the hundreds of thousands. We're pushing 1 million, I think, people nationwide. But I can't remember the number off the top of my head. It changes every day, obviously, because we get new people into the fold every day. But we've got almost 1 million likes on Facebook, and we've got hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of supporters nationwide. In Texas, I think we've got pushing 100,000 in Texas alone. I think it's like 63,000. I can't remember.
Hey, Aaron, I think you've stumped the crowd, man. I haven't seen an answer yet. So the question is, which state has a single chamber legislature? And we're going to give this a few more minutes. And if we don't get an answer, we're going to change the question. That's funny. So anyway, let's go on. We're going to move on now to calls to action. Can you guys, let me bring back my little slide here. Calls to action. And let me turn that off. I hate to cover your face, your beautiful face there, Aaron. There we go. So calls to action. So we have a lot going on right now. And what I want to do is show you how you can participate. First,
oh, you got to explain that picture. Ken.
Yes.
You got to explain that.
Okay. This is a current call to action. Do I need to blow it up? Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah, you can see it pretty well.
Okay, so this is a call to action that is taking place right now in Michigan. And now this is a little bit off of our typical topic because we are mostly having these webinars and asking you to help us with term limits on Congress. But obviously we support term limits at all levels of government. So in Michigan, the state legislature probably has the strictest term limits in the country. And there are some former legislators, I believe, who are now lobbyists trying to not only they're not trying to extend it so they're longer in office. They're trying to make term limits absolutely unconstitutional and get rid of them completely. And so we currently have a call to action asking people in Michigan to contact their state legislators. And Jeff Tillman, God bless him, is driving around the state with this huge pig on the back of this trailer. just to get it noticed. And we don't want these, I'm going to use pigs squealing at the trough to have their term limits taken away. And so you got to admit that's a beautiful thing. That is quite
well, and the thing that's upsetting about it is because, pretty much everybody, it doesn't matter what party you're affiliated with, pretty much everybody is pretty sick of Congress. And they spend too much. The dirty little secret is that once you get behind the Beltway, inside the Beltway, all they want to do is gain more personal power and spend more money. And they want to have more and more control over you, period. End of story. So the way they're doing it in Michigan is underhanded. It's a sleazy way to do it. It's not upfront. It's not, hey, we want to get rid of term limits. Do you support us? Let's have a vote. They're trying to game the system. They're trying to do every backdoor deal they possibly can. And that it's wrong. And it takes away the voice of the people, the way they're doing it. And it's corrupting the system even more in Michigan.
And my concern is if they are successful with this issue in Michigan, that potentially could go nationwide.
Yeah.
That's a huge, huge concern. Anyway, how to get involved. Okay, this is another way to get involved. And if you can see the screen here, guys, you know what? I'm going to just, I'm going to turn off our cameras just for a moment so everyone can see where I am. And I'm going to pull this up. So it's kind of, there you go. So this is our website. If you go under current actions, you can see right now what we currently have taking place. And all you do is click on one of those if you live in that state and just fill it out. It's just going to ask for your name, address, email address, and then it's going to pull up some messages that you can send to the legislators. So this is where we post mostly all of our calls to action. So this changes almost on a daily basis. We will also send this out in our email blast in our states and also post it up on Facebook. So I am going to close out. Let me bring you guys back in here. Were you saying something, Ken?
No, it kind of messed with me a little bit, and so you're getting feedback. So no, I wouldn't say anything.
We have a winner.
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. And I saw that. So let me highlight the winner here so everybody can see who it is and what the answer was. There it is. Okay, we have our winner. Drum roll, please. Isaac Houston. He wasn't that confident, but he got it right. Nebraska. Yes, the only state in the country that has just one body, does not have a House and a Senate. What do they call it, by the way?
The Assembly?
I don't know.
The Assembly? I think they call it the Assembly.
Okay. All right.
Nebraska legislature.
Well, Isaac, Aaron's going to reach out to you and get your contact information. I'll get that shirt out to you. And hopefully we've got the right size. So make sure you get their sizes as well, Aaron. Appreciate that. Okay. Well, let's see. Another thing that you can do to help us, folks, is if you go to our website, and this is it's under the tab term limits. I'm not going to pull it up, but we have a pledge campaign. So this is how we engage candidates. And I'm getting some feedback, guys.
Yep.
You turn that. Okay. Lost my train of thought. Okay. So candidates and legislators, if you go to our website, there's a pledge that we are asking state legislators as well as congressional candidates and members of Congress to sign. And basically it's a pledge that they will support and co-sponsor and vote for our Article 5 resolution at the state level. If they are a member of Congress or a candidate for Congress, they are promising to co-sponsor the amendment that we have in Congress today. Actually, some of you might not know this. Article 5, as Ken Clark was talking about earlier, there's two ways to propose amendments. 2/3 of both houses of Congress or 2/3 of the states need to apply. We are advancing both methods. Our amendment in Congress is in the House and the Senate, SJR 1 and HJR 20. The amendment in Congress calls for 2 terms for the members of the U.S. Senate, 3 terms for the House members. So that's a total of 12 years in the Senate, 6 in the House. So a combined total of 18 years somebody can serve in Washington. At the state initiative, we are not advocating any particular terms. We left that language out. We want the states to decide at the convention. So that's how we're pursuing this. And that is what we need your help with. Again, we cannot vote for this at the ballot box. The people cannot vote for it. What the people can do is contact their state legislators and demand them to pass this in their state. That they are your representatives. They are our representatives. They need to be doing what we want. And so that's why we need you stepping up, making some noise and putting pressure on them and asking them, hey, you better sign our pledge. I'm telling you, it works. That pressure works. You guys know what it's all about. You and your teams are really kicking butt with these pledges.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Aaron, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. We're active in several states, reaching out to not only incumbent legislators, but also candidates running up, coming this next year. And we'd have just dozens upon dozens of candidates and legislators signing a pledge to back our Article 5 resolution. If elected to office. And what this really does for the whole movement is it gives us a stronghold. When we get into the session, we know who we can go to first and who has already said, I'm going to commit to this. Gives us a huge step up in getting started and helps us, solidify the support we need. And we can really move the legislation along really nicely. We've really seen that play out really well in West Virginia, especially. We have now a count of all the sitting legislature, of all the sitting legislators in West Virginia. I think we have 54 pledged. So it's a huge number that we have there, and that gives you a lot of leverage to play with, and we'll get this thing done that way. So we need help.
Yeah, I had a great opportunity last weekend. There's a gentleman running for Congress in Maine, Eric Brakey, who signed the pledge. And for those running for Congress, oftentimes we will do a pledge signing event, and he contacted me, and that's what we did. I went down to his headquarters that was opening, and he did a pledge. It's a big, wide format blow up of the pledge, and it was great. Everyone was there. I had a few minutes just to share briefly about what we're doing, and he's a solid supporter for Term Limits for Congress. So that's what we're doing. I don't have a picture of that, but you can see our press release up on our website. And if you want to see who signed the pledge, go to our website under news, and then it's pledge press releases. You can see the hundreds of candidates around the country signing this. Yeah, it's fantastic, the support we're getting. I don't know what Kevin Burke means by Alaska here, 3% for term limits.
I do.
Okay.
I know exactly what he means. That if I'm reading that right, he's from Alaska. He's a member of the 3%ers, and they support term limits. And so because I'm a member as well, I know a lot about those guys.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, no, it's actually 82%. Yeah, I know. A little inside joke there.
That I don't know if that's what that is, but that's what I'm seeing. So,
okay, guys, why don't we talk about some calls to action in particular states? So, Clark, why don't you share with folks what's happening right now? Aaron and myself, I'll do the same. We'll go around the horn.
You know what? I've got a lot going on in the South region, and I really need a whole lot of help. As we were talking about Jim Olson, he's on he's watching the video right now. He's our state director in Georgia, and Georgia is active. We have passed the Senate in Georgia already, and when the session starts again, it's a 2-year session, so it's a holdover type of situation. We've already passed the Senate. We need to pass the House. We have the votes in the House to pass, but we've got to put pressure on the Speaker of the House to give us a vote. If he will give us a vote, we will put Georgia in the win column. That's simple. I mean, it is just that simple, but he has been stonewalling us. We don't know why. Any help you can give us in Georgia, we need it. We're going to be active. We're also active in South Carolina. We've got a resolution that's alive in the Senate in South Carolina. And so we're going to be pushing very hard there. I need all the help I can get in South Carolina. North Carolina, we want to introduce our resolution in North Carolina this year, so I need help. Mississippi. I believe we have two gentlemen in the House that are willing to be our sponsors in Mississippi, and maybe somebody in the Senate. I'm not 100% sure about the Senate yet, but we are going to be introducing our resolution in Mississippi. That Mississippi is a tough state. They've got their issues with term limits, and so it's going to be a tough state. Mississippi is going to be a battle. But we do need help getting the ground game going in Mississippi. Now, Louisiana, we have the votes in Louisiana. We've got a ton of momentum in Louisiana. We have 40 new members of the House coming in, 20 new members of the Senate coming in. Our whip count shows us that we have the numbers to pass in the House right now. We have the numbers to pass in the Senate right now. The new president of the Senate is a supporter of Article 5 and term limits. He's not a pledge signer, but he is a supporter. We don't know who the new Speaker of the House is going to be. There's a battle royale going on right there, and so it could be anybody. But we need help in Louisiana from volunteers calling their newly elected representatives, their newly elected senators, going down to the Capitol and just saying, hey, we got your back, push this through, support this. We really need to get it done. Louisiana is looking very, very strong. Their session doesn't start until March 9th, and it'll go through the end of April, first part of May. So we've got some time to continue to build momentum in Louisiana. But that's what's going on. That's what's hot right now in the South region. And again, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. And Aaron, I'm going to let you talk about West Virginia.
Sure. Yeah. I am the state director for both Kentucky and West Virginia. So you might call it the Southern Appalachian subregion. Over here. We got a lot going on, especially in West Virginia. We introduced the first time last year in the 2019 session and brought that thing all the way through the House comfortably over into the Senate. And it took a sort of a dirty trick of a filibuster to kill us in our tracks in the Senate right as we're coming up for a floor vote, and we would have passed. No sweat. We're going to be back in come January. Session starts right up, I think, on the 6th. And we'll be right back there again, and we're going to get this thing done. And so, especially in West Virginia, we're going to need some people on the ground and people willing to come. We have a little sneak peek here. We have a Capitol Day scheduled for Friday, the 17th of January. If you want to mark that on your calendar, that's something you can get involved in and come with us to the Capitol building in Charleston, and we'll go walk around and talk to a lot of legislators. And it makes a huge difference to have folks come in from their constituencies to talk to them about this matter. And we'd love to have you come. And if you can't physically make it to a Capitol building, understood, it's a big state. There are many ways we can be in touch. And I dropped my email address in the comments over here, so you can talk to me directly, or you can sign up to volunteer on our website. In Kentucky, we're still building up some support here and talking to legislators about where they stand on the resolution. We definitely need a sponsor. So if you're in Kentucky and want to get involved, you can help me out and help us out in finding a sponsor here in Kentucky. Get this thing filed for the first time and see where we can go.
Kentucky's a tough state.
It sure is.
It's a tough state. You wouldn't think so, but it is. Kind of like South Carolina. You wouldn't think that it'd be a tough South Carolina, or North Carolina for that matter, would be tough.
Well, I tell you this much, Ken, it's certainly popular with the people. The national average is 82% approval in Kentucky. Well, in Kentucky, it's 84%.
Yeah.
So figure that one out. We need someone to step up in the legislature.
Well, it's interesting. And I'm going to give you this little anecdote, and then I'll turn it back over to Ken Quinn and let him talk. But anywhere from 82 to 84% of the American public supports term limits on Congress. I always ask people this question: who do you suppose that 16 to 18% that's opposed to term limits? Who do you suppose those people are? And my answer is always the same. You're right. It's the elected officials. It's a joke. That's not true.
Yeah. So let me give you a quick update in my region. I cover, we call it the North region. Okay. Right now, what's really hot in my region is Pennsylvania. We have HR 444. It's the resolution sitting at the state government in the House, in the House at the House committee State Government Committee. And we are working right now on getting a public hearing for that and hopefully a vote. And so we need, if you're in Pennsylvania, I need you to go to that call to action and start asking. I believe the call to action right now is asking for your state senator and rep to co-sponsor HR 444. So Pennsylvania is very hot for us right now. I was in New Hampshire today. We have a resolution that was introduced last year, actually earlier this year in the House. It's still alive. It's on life support. But we're going to push for a floor vote in the House, but we're also going to have it introduced in the Senate. So we have a lot of stuff going on in New Hampshire coming up. So if you're in New Hampshire, I need your help. And it's going to be a tough fight in New Hampshire, but I know we can get this done. Let me see what else. Iowa, if you are in Iowa, SJR 11 was introduced by Senator Zach Whiting. It passed the subcommittee hearing by a vote of 2-1. And so we're going to be having a full committee hearing, hopefully right in the new session coming up. And then we're going to need to get that passed. So if you live in Iowa, please contact me. We're going to be introducing our resolution in Vermont, in the Senate. In Maryland, we're going to be introducing, I believe, again, in New York. It looks like Minnesota. And so there's a lot of stuff happening. As you guys both know, we are going to get crazy busy in the next few weeks. And so a lot of information is going to be coming out, a lot of calls to action. So that's why we need you folks desperately to help us. We can't do it without you. And the more of you that actually get involved beyond just liking our Facebook page, we need you to take action. We need you to make the calls. Visit us at the Capitals, send the emails, wear the shirts, everything. Okay. So I can go on all night. But anyway, a lot of excitement going on, guys. A lot of excitement.
Remember, if you would like, if you have questions about anything that has in regards to USTL, what we're trying to do, term limits on Congress, the process, whatever. If you have questions about any of this, type them in the comments and we will ask them or answer them. And if you also have any ideas about Term Limits Day, things that you think might be fun, unique, kind of a neat thing to do anywhere in the country, type that in as well, and we'll highlight that because we're looking for your input. We would very much like to have it.
Yeah, let me, I'm going to actually type that right up so I can post it there. So,
okay.
One thing, yeah, it's hard for me to type and talk at the same time, but let me see. Here we go. All right. One thing I saw a question that I want to get back to. Give me 1 second to find it, but it's a really good question. And this is one that we hear all the time. If I can find it here it had to do with a concern about, I think it was Article 5 in the Constitution. So for that person that asked the question, I'm sorry, I can't find it right now, but let me answer it. For those of you that have concerns about this process, I want to ease all those concerns. Number one is this. The states were given equal authority to propose amendments with Congress. In fact, the reason why we have the convention mode was because the framers, in their wisdom, they understood human nature, and they knew, and we all know, that what makes a good functioning government are checks and balances. So the convention mode was included in Article 5 as a check against the national government. And that's not the only reason, but that was one of the main reasons they wanted it. And so all that the convention can do is, number one, it's not a constitutional convention. This cannot rewrite or draft a new constitution. It can only propose amendments that 34 states, 2/3 of the states, passed resolutions on. So it's limited to what 34 states have said, we agree on this. Nothing else can be introduced. To give you an idea of the imbalance here, Clark mentioned it earlier. Congress has introduced 12,000 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. 12,000. 60 of those they've introduced this year. All this process does is give the states the same opportunity that Congress has taken advantage of 12,000 times. The states have never had that opportunity because it's harder for them. We have to get 34 state legislatures to pass a resolution just to meet to discuss something.
Well, and it's important. Let me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
it's not just 34 state legislators passing a resolution to say, hey, let's have an amendments proposing convention. They have to pass a resolution agreeing to the subject prior to the convention itself. So those people that say anything can happen, everything is on the table, that's categorically false. And frankly, it's a lie. It cannot happen. They can only discuss those subjects that are part of the resolution. So when U.S. term limits gets to 34, guess what? Term limits on Congress is the only subject that can be discussed at that amendments proposing convention, period.
Yeah, and so this idea that anything can happen is just nonsense. There's no foundation to this idea of a runaway myth. That a runaway convention is built on a lie, that lie being that the original convention of 1787 ran away. It did not. The members of that convention had full authority. That's why they went there. They went there to draft. In fact, Charles Pinckney of South Carolina showed up day one with a complete constitution because that was the call. That was the purpose. They were sent there not to preserve the Articles of Confederation. They were sent there to preserve the Union. And so this whole idea that it ran away is complete and utter bunk. James Madison refutes that false charge in Federalist 40. And folks, the more you read the writings of the framers and get into their mindsets and read the notes at the convention, read the Federalist Papers, you realize these guys were geniuses. That's what turned me on to this.
Getting back to it also, I mean, that runaway of 1787, a lot of people are under the misunderstanding. They believe, well, Congress called that. Congress didn't call it. Who called that again, Ken? I can't remember.
Virginia. The state of Virginia. Yeah.
There you go. What state didn't even show up?
Yeah. So anyway, I hope that answered the woman's question, and I apologize for not knowing your name and being able to find it. But anyway, I just had to get that off my chest. Okay, because it's really important, and it's good to know this stuff. Once you know it, it clicks and it all makes sense, and you will be a firm believer in this. Let's take some more questions, though. We got just a few more minutes, and if folks can type in a few questions, and then we'll close this out. But this was fun tonight, guys.
Yeah, this has been a ball. And I think I saw a couple questions, but it scrolls pretty fast.
It does.
It really does. Let's see.
Keep it short so I can pull it up. Let's see. Well, we got Isaac, Pennsylvania. Need your help. Pennsylvania's going hot.
Here's one. We kind of touched on this. Well, never mind. We already answered that one. Now I found the question you were looking for, Ken.
Did I answer it?
Yeah,
you
did. Okay. Yeah, you did. It talks about changing the Constitution, and what we're trying to do is simply amend it to put term limits. I mean, the 16th Amendment amended the terms that a president could serve. And
22nd.
I'm sorry.
The 22nd Amendment.
Yeah, 22nd. The 16th is the one I want repealed. It's the 22nd Amendment. The 22nd Amendment limited the terms of the President of the United States. The only way that was going to happen was the 22nd Amendment. So what we're talking about is the 28th Amendment limiting the terms of the members of Congress. That's it. Yeah. It's that simple. And simple. What those terms are going to be, I don't know. All 50 states are going to get in a room and literally duke it out. I mean, that's going to be. I can't wait to see that free for all of a knockdown, drag out battle.
Well, you know what? Most people agree that they like the idea of term limits on the president. You know, I haven't met too many people that would like to repeal the 22nd Amendment. Now, if it's good enough for the president, should it not be good enough for those that write the laws?
Yeah.
You know, it just makes. In fact, our first Constitution had term limits. Our country's foundation is based on what they called rotation of office. Many of the state constitutions had rotation of office. They understood that people, if they hold power a position of power for too long, they become corrupt. And so we just want to clean it out on a regular basis, keep that water fresh, just like a hot tub. Just keep adding the filter and draining it on a regular, consistent basis. That's all this is doing. It gives more people an opportunity to run for office. It gives us, the voters, more options to choose at the ballot box. It's a win-win. How can you be against this? I don't get it. Anyway,
Yeah,
boy, I'm fired up tonight, man. You guys have fired me up.
the people that are
Join the revolution.
the people that don't support it are people that either dream of being there someday themselves, or they have a vested interest in the corruption that is Washington, D.C. It's one of the two, in my opinion. So sorry if I sound cynical, but I've been around this game a long time.
All right, guys. Well, listen, it's 9:15. We try to wrap this up in 45 minutes, and I think we've done it. So listen, I think we sign off.
Well, I was going to say, Aaron, any last words?
I just had thinking about the line we hear sometimes from politicians that we have, elections which are term limits. Well, let me ask you, if you want to repeal the 22nd Amendment and end term limits on the presidency, I'm pretty sure, 82% of Americans want term limits on Congress. Pretty well nigh, 99% want to keep term limits on the presidency. So you can't apply that one way or not another.
Well,
we need term limits. The elections aren't enough. They're rigged.
That would be the bullpit. What do they call that? The power of the podium or whatever that the president has.
Sure.
Well, the same is true. Bully pulpit. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. But the same is true for incumbents. They have. It's smaller. It's not as large, but in their districts, it's every bit as huge.
I think Nick, our executive director, came up with this one. I love this one. In fact, I shared it with somebody today. Guys, we already have term limits. It's called dementia, death, and indictment. Right? Dementia, death, and indictment. There you go. That's our term limit.
There you go, Duncan Hunter. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. We're going to sign off. Please visit our website, termlimits.com. Sign the petition. Share it out there. Go to our website and volunteer. Let us know how you can help us, and let's get this done. Let's get the ball further down the field in your state next year.
Yep.
And we can do this.
All
right, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.